We're looking at the agenda. There is a change to the agenda. We are not going to be, at Mr. Walden's request, we won't be discussing number 7, which is the ordinance referring to the North Campus, University of Illinois. So if you could just remove that from our agenda today. Do we have a staff report?
No.
No staff report. Okay. It's going to be short and sweet. On to approving the minutes of the previous meeting. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Do we have a motion and a second? Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. And next we'll have public input. If anyone would like to speak before the council, please let me know. Go ahead. If you could come sit at this table here and let us know your name and your address for the record, please. And the public input is no more than 5 minutes, if you could. Thank you.
I live at 2315 East Main Street in Urbana. I've lived there for awful close to 40-some years. And I got this card in the mail Saturday, and I'm very perplexed over it. I hope it says it comes from her and Mr. Whalen. And I hope you either had nothing to do with it or you know nothing about it, because I can't help but think that business like this is where Urbana is today. We can't move forward, we can't move sideways, we can't move backwards, and nobody gives a damn if we move to the other way. And I just really don't understand this. I can't help but wonder where it comes from, why it comes from. I can't help but wonder if this is not why Kmart left, why Myers never came to start with. I'm almost to the verge of thinking what you people need is another charge from Big Grove, or whatever that was a few years back. I don't know if you've read this card, but it's quite interesting. Walmart trying to invade our neighborhood. Well, as far as I'm concerned, this could be Sears and Roebuck. It could be Kmart. It could be Walmart. It could be Saks Fifth Avenue. Who knows? But when we treat people like this, it's no darn wonder we don't have nobody coming around knocking on our doors. Then it says, Walmart is quietly working behind the scenes to locate a traffic-choking big box supercenter in the corner of University 150 and 130. Well, hey, it's been moved all over town. I'm sure you know that. It's been everywhere from north side of Champaign to the east side of Urbana, and sometimes back on the same day. Then it says, we already have plenty of neighborhood restaurants, hardware stores, florists, gas stations, grocery stores, pharmacies, and create hundreds of good-paying jobs. Well, I'm sure that's correct. But I think hundreds of those good-paying jobs are not quite what they're suspecting them to be. I think what they are, they're lower income people into the job market that start on the bottom. Lucky to get anything over minimum wage, which has very few benefits and so on. And they even mention that down here, that union jobs, good benefits, and diverse employee base would be a goal of our local economy. A Walmart super center is not consistent with this objective. Well, they seem to be doing all right. I mean, I know they have problems, but you name a business that don't have problems in this day and age, either with employees, the community, the state, the city, wherever they're at. But they must have something going for them, because they're all over the country. And I can't quite understand why they'd want to have basically 5 stores within 25 miles in no more population than this area is. And I'm talking about from Savoy to the west side of Champaign to Rantoul and the Sam's store. And if this one comes, that would be the 5th store. So this is where I'm totally confused with this. I think maybe a Walmart would be a benefit. It'd have to be something more than what we got going now if they only hired 3 people. And one of those jobs might be a damn good paying job. I don't know. It says here that they also, profits from Walmart supercenters are hauled away to Arkansas rather than plowed back into the local economy as done by local owner businesses. Do you think that they would really do that? Does Farm and Fleet really haul, when those trucks go back to Wisconsin, they might be hauling money back up there. The profit. And for that matter, if you look into it, do you know where Carl puts their money? They put a lot of it back in the community, I'll grant you that. And I'll never deny that. But they put a lot of it elsewhere, not in this community.
Sir, I'd like to give the council members an opportunity to ask you some questions if they'd like to. And also, if you could just either drop your full name with the clerk, or if you could spell your name for us, please, so that we would have it in the public record.
Oh. Well, my given name is Ben, but I go by Dwight. Ben as in B-E-N, Little Ben.
And your last name, sir?
Pardon me?
Your last name, sir?
Redding, R-E-D-D-I-N-G.
Okay. And are there particular questions that the council members have for Mr. Redding? Mr. Whalen?
I'm not quite understanding the gist of what you're saying. Are you for or against the Walmart coming in?
I haven't really made up my mind because this has totally confused me.
Well, it's totally confused me too, and my name is on there.
I understand that.
They suggest that it implies that I'm opposed to Walmart. And so
What it says here,
Huh?
I say that's what I read here.
Yeah, well, I got about, I don't know, maybe if I got 50 calls maybe today, starting this morning, very early. And not one of them was opposed to Walmart. They were all in favor of Walmart, and I am emphatically supporting Walmart's coming into town.
Well, generally speaking, as I reiterated, or as I said before, this column, or this line right up here, as far as I'm concerned, could read Sears and Roebuck. It could read anybody you want to say, any business.
Well, this is.
I know, this one's dealing with Walmart.
You notice that there's no name on here, is
I
there?
understand that. There's no nothing.
Yeah, but there is a union bug.
Is that one in the bottom at the middle?
Yeah. So it's almost suggesting that it's I don't know, it's certainly the unions would be concerned about this because Walmart will not unionize.
Well, I could understand that. I mean, I've worked with plenty of union fellows. I've never worked one day in my life as a union member. And I lived, maybe not as well as I could have, but I lived. I come from pretty much the wrong side of the railroad tracks, if you want to get down to it.
Would you say, though, excuse me, the question I was asking, I'm not trying to make a statement, but I do think it should be made. But are you for the Walmart coming in? Do you see the advantages?
I'm for Urbana.
Okay, and do you think that this would benefit Urbana?
It would have to.
Okay, thank you. That answers the question.
I mean, it would have to.
Now, Mr. Redding, thank you.
Mr. Redding, I just have one question for you. Do you have any indication that this is not a city-produced piece, and it's not produced by the two council members who are listed here?
That's what I wanted to know.
Like many pieces that are put out that are political pieces, it asks for people to call their representatives and talk about supporting or opposing a particular thing. So although it's not indicated who put this piece out, it certainly wasn't put out by Ms. Huth because her name is spelled wrong, and Mr. Whalen has now stated it wasn't put out by him as well. So I'm just wondering whether or not you have any indication that the city of Urbana is against a Walmart going in.
Well, I've heard that a fact, yes, I've heard that.
Okay.
I've been told that Urbana doesn't want it, and I said, where in the world did you get an idea like that? I would think Urbana would welcome anybody with open arms that was going to pitch a tent and make anything out of it.
Yeah, I just a statement, and then we can close. Mr. Redding, is just that I have not heard any indication that the city of Urbana is opposed.
Well,
Although
but my other concern...
Certainly residents have different ideas about these things, but I just wanted to clarify for anyone who's watching as well as for yourself that this piece isn't something that came from council members or the city, so.
I'm thankful of that, because I was really, what the hell's wrong with them people? Well, I mean, you get this, I found it on our dining room table. My wife brought it in from the mailbox. And you read this flat out, and heaven's sakes, you pick up the telephone and they're talking to you about 75 different things every day. And 99% of them, I could care less, whatever they're talking about.
You know, Mr. Redding, this is a very good time, and it's good that you came here to ask us questions, I think, because we have been blamed for not wanting business. And everybody I talk to, everybody, it seems like, that's got a gripe of some kind, says, well, that damn council, they don't want business. Well, I can tell you emphatically, every one of these people that I know here, as we've talked, they challenge, they question the nature of a location or the zoning or something like that, but there's not one person here in this city government that I have heard say they do not want business in town.
Well,
Excuse me, Mr. Redding, the mayor would like to speak, and then we need to wrap this up to get on to further business. But
fine.
Mayor, please.
Well, I just wanted to let Mr. Redding and the rest of the public know that we're working with the Walmart folks, and I personally am very happy, and everyone working in the administration is happy to work with them, because we know that right now the top priority for the city is trying to replace some of our retail tax base that we've lost over the last couple of years, and Walmart would certainly fill that void that we have right now. So we're very anxious to have the Walmart here, and are working with them to try to go through the process of identifying the site and getting everything done that they need to move into that site. So again, just taking a look at it, I'd heard about it. My office had received some phone calls as well, but nobody had brought the card in, so I'm just seeing it for the first time. But there is no identifying mark on it saying who it came from, which I think is kind of cowardly from the person or group that sent it out. But it's not a city piece, and evidently not something that either Ms. Huth or Mr. Whalen sent out to council members that are named on the card. My guess is that they are named because it was sent out to the east section of town, and that those people whoever sent this out is afraid that might change the nature of the neighborhood, and Mr. Whalen and Ms. Huth are the ones that represent that particular part of town. So my guess is that's why they're named. It's just merely the location and the wards that they represent, rather than any political stand or stand on this issue that they have taken, because I don't see any correlation there.
Well, the other thing is, I didn't understand how I got to start with, because theoretically, I'm not a resident of Urbana. But then I find out that these people that do these kind of things, they draw this circle, and if you're in that circle, you're either black, red, or green,
Right.
whichever that circle represents.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Redding?
Well, I'd like, if you would like to be a resident of Urbana, you can visit our community development department and look at annexation. We'd be happy to welcome you to the city.
I'm sure that will come forth in all due time. And I started out in Urbana. I didn't start out in Urbana, but like I say, I'm your first next door neighbor, if you will. I live just east of what will be the park on East Main Street, and I worked for several years to keep that area, in my area, presentable, and I made my living here. My children are educated here. All that's history, of course, but I still have a desire to see Urbana go. So yes, I am in favor of Urbana. So does that put me in favor of Walmart? You make the decision. Does that put me in favor of Saks Fifth Avenue? Or whoever? Huey's. Maybe we need another Huey's.
I vote yes on Huey's.
Well, I make that as a pun,
Yeah,
but it might not be a bad idea.
wonderful.
Mr. Redding, we appreciate your input, and we will need to move on to the next business.
No problem.
Appreciate your input.
I hope you understand where I'm coming from and why I came. You want this yellow piece
Yes, I do.
at all?
Yes.
Please give it to the clerk. Next, we're on to item number 5. That's ordinance number 2003-07-069, an ordinance amending Schedule J of Section 23-183 of the Urbana Local Traffic Code prohibiting parking at all times on certain streets, and this refers to Main Street. Do we have a report from Public Works? Mr. Ray?
Yes, there's a brief report in the council packet. It's essentially a recommendation for no parking on the south side of Main Street, which is just west of Cottage Grove. This was an item that was discussed actually some time ago at the Traffic Commission. People are aware of the no parking situation in front of the two properties here, but the formality of consideration of this by council and consideration of the ordinance attached hasn't been done yet, and that's what's here before you. And just as a note, in anticipation of no parking here, we've done some striping to help enhance safety and minimize delays at that intersection. So if you head eastbound on Main, you'll notice we have a through and a right-only lane there now, a through and a left and a right-only lane now. So anyway, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Ray? Any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to send the ordinance to City Council.
We have a motion from Ms. Pat, a second from Mr. Hayes. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have ordinance number 2003-07-070. That's an ordinance relating to maintenance of the saline ditch. This is North Lincoln Avenue Bridge. And we'll hear from Mr. Ray as well.
Yes. This is one of the more unusual situations I've ever encountered, but apparently there's a new interpretation from the Department of Natural Resources on what constitutes proper authority that a municipality or a jurisdiction is going to maintain a bridge and the waterway under it. Just for your information, the Public Works Department and the Director are responsible for maintaining all the infrastructure in the city, including bridges and streams and waterways. But the DNR, Department of Natural Resources, needed an ordinance that you would consider and approve that in order for them to be sure that we would maintain this bridge properly and the waterway underneath it and remove obstructions and clear debris, take care of erosion and that kind of thing. And we need this approved in order for us to get a permit to build a bridge on North Lincoln Avenue. So it's, anyone I've talked to, they've never encountered this sort of situation in the past because it's understood as a responsibility, but they needed some evidence, and the evidence they needed in our discussions was something of this order. So we worked with Mr. Holtz and put this together, so that's what's before you here.
Any questions from Mr. Ray? Ms. Wyman?
Yeah, I guess I'm just curious, what's wrong with the current bridge?
Oh, okay. There is an existing bridge on North Lincoln Avenue, a saline branch, but the saline makes kind of an oxbow, and we're building a new Lincoln Avenue to the Central Waste site, and this newly aligned Lincoln Avenue is going to go over the, I'll call it, northern portion of the oxbow, which will service the Central Waste Facility and Saline Court, which is a street that's going to connect to Lincoln Avenue, servicing that North Industrial Park. And someday this alignment will take us to Olympian Drive, but it'll be kind of an old Lincoln Avenue, the existing Lincoln Avenue. This will be a new Lincoln Avenue. So it is a second bridge over the saline.
Okay, so it's not replacing the old bridge?
No, and I think we made it clear in the memo, but we are saying it's the new bridge north of Summer Drive. The one I think you're referring to is the one just south of Summer Drive.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Gray? I have a quick question. It's not a new budget allocation. This is something that's been budgeted, and you just need approval for the
Correct.
DNR's paperwork from council.
Correct.
Any other questions? If not, a motion would be in order.
Move to send this to council with a recommendation for approval.
Motion from Ms. Wyman, second from Joe. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Next, we have, we are skipping number 7. That's been removed from the agenda, so we have number 8, ordinance number 2003-07-072. That's an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for use of the right-of-way. This refers to 406 North Lincoln Avenue. Mr. Gray, you're a popular man tonight.
This is a very similar request as the council considered 2 weeks ago at committee and a week ago at our last council meeting. And we just received this, and apparently in order for Mr. Wakeland to connect to his system, he realized very late that he also needed to connect to where Connexus is, where he's getting access then for fiber for his internet system. And he needs to run a line. He has the property he owns on the east side of Lincoln Avenue, but he has to cross Clark Street. So this would be another identical agreement, but it just changed the location. And this would allow him to have his connections.
Any questions? Ms. Wyman?
It would seem to me from this that Mr. Wakeland's going, or that Clark Street is going to have to be closed while part of it is dug up to put this underground? No.
No, the good news is the contractor he'll employ will use what's called directional boring equipment, and they'll literally just drill a small diameter hole on the north or south end and go under the street and come back up on the other end of the street. And so it's a very unintrusive situation. So no, the street should not need to be closed.
Fantastic, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, a motion will be in order.
Move to send this to council with a recommendation for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it, and we are now, Ms. Wyman.
Just a reminder to council and the public, I got a flyer, the long-range transportation plan for Champaign, Urbana, Savoy, and Bonneville. We'll have a meeting this Wednesday, July 16th, from 5:30 to 8 on the 4th floor of the Illinois Terminal, 45 East University Avenue, Champaign, and it's to report, it's an open house to see what the input has been from CUWATS, the Champaign-Urbana Urbanized Area Transportation Study, and that's open to the public.
Thanks. Any other announcements? Mr. Gray.
I just wanted to give just kind of a brief report. If you recall, last Tuesday and Wednesday we had a little bit of precipitation around here, and all in all, we really, I think, came through this rain event very well. We Wednesday had over 5 inches of rain pretty much over the entire city, and that translates statistically into like a 25 or 50-year rain event. And it doesn't necessarily mean it happens once every 25 or 50 years. It just means statistically it can happen 2 or 4% of any one year. But what I want to report is the number of sewer backups we received was about 10 or 11. And one of them was the corkscrew, and we're working with the store owner and the property owner with that. But I can tell you that had this been 10 years ago, we probably would have had 111 backups, not just 11 backups. And it's just a real tribute to the engineering crews and the operations crews and all the work they've done. We also had some other flooding-related issues that we need to look at, and there's a few areas that we're going to address in the coming months. But all in all, the Boneyard behaved very well. The Champaign work that they've done the last several years and the university work that has been done kept the Boneyard well within the banks, feet below the top of the bank, whereas in other years there would have obviously, Greens and Campus Street, Campus Town would have been underwater, and Campus Engineering Quad would have, seen some problems too. So, yes, it was millions of dollars spent, but I think, we all can say that the improvements are really starting to pay off here in minimizing and reducing problems. And I'm not aware of any overbank boneyard flooding that occurred, in our stretch of the Boneyard. And there are a few areas, and I can go in depth if you want, that we need to address some particular spots. But all in all, a lot of the improvements, council has funded in the last, many years are really starting to help pay off. And if I can make a general comment, it seems those areas that developed in the unincorporated areas initially and were recently annexed or whatever, those are the areas that we have to address. And quite frankly, it was typically done out of our direct control, and usually we have a pretty good idea how to handle stormwater in the community. But those areas just on the outskirts are giving us some problems we need to address. So.
Mayor.
Just follow up on how full did the big hole over in Champaign get?
I went over there the next morning. I would say it was probably 2/3 to 3/4 full, but it definitely did its job in taking water. Not full, but it's hard to judge. But eyeball, I'd say about 3/4 to 2/3 to 3/4.
Take more, huh?
Yeah. Yes, it can. Mm-hmm.
Any other announcements from council members or staff? If not, we are adjourned.
Could I ask you a question with regard to that water?